I have had an epiphany. Sort of along the lines of when people say now that they want to live the soft life. I get it. We no longer want to be strong if we don't have to be. We no longer want to bear all the burden of all the things if there's other people that can take some of the responsibility. Delegation, help, those are becoming part of the vocabulary of one who wants to live a soft life. But I think I found something a little bit more personalized to me. You want to know what it is? I am going to strive to live a light life. Even saying it makes me feel like, tell me more and I will. But first, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and then we'll go ahead and have that conversation, okay? But go ahead and go first. Do the like and subscribe, go. The light life. Let me give you a little bit of my tea. Life has always felt extremely heavy, burdened, taxed, responsibility, okay? Childhood had our own set of variables that we need to do a whole series on. a totally different conversation. And then your first classroom in life is your childhood. So with having very little skills and tools to be able to be a successful adult, okay, right? Yeah, it was a lot of bumping of the knee, a lot of pinky toe feeling situations. It was getting the pain and then getting the lesson. It was getting the heartbreak and then realizing who not to choose. It was working there and then realizing, oh, that doesn't sit well with me and my personality, my wiring, all of the above. You see what I'm saying? But when you are in places and in spaces and around people who see you and are able to go ahead and help you navigate the path, all learning doesn't have to be painful. All learning doesn't have to be heavy. And so with figuring out life as I'm literally living life, okay, right? It's almost like someone who is building a house and they're learning how to build a house as they build the house. That is extremely difficult. To have to learn yourself while you have to live this life, to have to learn who you are as your mother, okay? Have to learn what you like and what you don't like as you are getting big responsibilities in leadership and maybe spousal, whatever it is. It should never be a learning hands-on. Some of that is cool, but that can't be the primary way of living. And so I experienced a lot of that, where it felt like, yo, I found myself constantly saying, if I knew then what I know now. And I learned that hindsight was becoming my teacher. And so somewhere along the line, I was like, I no longer want to be enrolled and be like, hey, Mrs. Hindsight, good, the family's good. Like, why we have that kind of conversation? Why we have that kind of relationship? I no longer. Nothing wrong with Mrs. Hindsight. But like, no, I don't want to be that close. I was honor roll in her classroom. I no longer want to achieve that any longer. So I came up with a base phrase for myself. I want to live a light life. Because I noticed that in the way that God wired me, when something is not right, when something doesn't feel right, it isn't. Yeah, if you're making that decision and there's a little bit of something, which is AKA not something, it's the Holy Spirit kind of nudging and maneuvering in you to get your attention to be like, sleep on that. Don't answer that now. Don't give your yes or no just yet. Gather more information. I wouldn't do that. And so you get these little indications on the dashboard of your spirit and you're like, and when you go against that, when you proceed that in a pace that God is not walking, you will always be enrolled in Mrs. Hindsight's class. And so I have learned if it's too heavy for me, I'm not carrying it. Decisions, people, anything. Heaviness has become my indicator of because with light being my literal, I mean that as in not heavy, light, but I do take attention to the fact that the first thing that God created was light. And so I understand light to have many facets. It gives clarity and understanding, which allows for wisdom and knowledge to be fostered. But also with the casting of your care, the way that he says to do that in Peter, because God cares for you, the casting makes things lighter. And so if I'm making a decision that feels too heavy for me, I don't necessarily want to make that decision outside of getting in communion with God, outside of getting good counsel, the way it says in Proverbs. There's just certain things that I have noticed when I am lighter, I feel better. There's a sense of freedom. Peace is able to get real estate here. There's so much that happens in a place of light that I want permanent residency. And I don't want anyone or anything to come in and try to hinder that in any kind of way. I am so secured about this part of my life. I'm so sensitive to things that aren't light. If it's not clarity light, and if it doesn't feel light, I don't want to entertain it. Point blank, the period. And I noticed that when people are saying they feel peaceful, or when you speak to an older adult and they're like, listen, there's nothing more important than keeping your peace. I realized that one of the common denominators for peace is light. How do you feel? Happy is it's a state sometimes, right? You can visit happiness in and out. You could be happy in the morning and by the afternoon somebody do something you like. So I don't want a life where I'm striving for something that is fickle. I don't want to strive for anything that can change from 1 minute, 1 hour to the next. I literally want to strive for light in all things. God is not the author of confusion. So if there's not clarity, if light is not there, I will pray on it, and I'm not doing anything in that direction until light is there. If something is happening and I feel like it's too heavy of a burden for me to bear, and I've cast it and I've gone to Jesus, because the Bible says to come to me all who are heavy laden and burdened, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is light. Okay, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So if his burden is light, and when he puts that onto me, it shouldn't feel heavy. So if it's heavy, chaotic and unclear, miss me on all things. And after taking that particular posture and walking through life and really feeling like, yeah, there is no other way to do it. I was literally looking at the brave things that people have done in the Bible, David and Goliath. And I was looking at just different things of like, wow, that was amazing. And the one thing that I seen is that there wasn't a sense of heaviness. And I was like, because honestly, I think God really knows he made us from dirt, right? And it's only so much you can pull and prowl through this thing called life without actually feeling it and having the bruises thereof. So my commitment to myself is like, yo, light all across the board. Soft living is cool. Soft indicates that, listen, I'm not really trying to do I'm not trying to be she-woman. Like, you can have a nice day. I'm not trying to be a superwoman. I'm not trying to be anything that is outside of the way I was supposed to be made. Yeah, if the job requires 2 people to do it, I'm not going to volunteer to do one. Okay, great. If there's just certain things that need to be managed with more people, I'm not trying to voluntarily be a one-stop shop. I'm not interested. So I get the soft, but soft shows that there's a fragility there. And so to me, the undertone of that is not so much soft, treat me like I'm fragile. It's more so, no, I want a light life because I'm not meant to carry things that are heavy. Period. Did you get the punctuation? And that's just what it is. In all things, my job can't ask me to do things that looks like, oh, that's a job for Superman. I ain't gonna hold you. I will do what I can. I will walk this thing lightly. Yeah, I'm not planning and doing a whole bunch what people failed to do, either professionally or in personal life. Your emergency can't be my priority. I will do what I can. And so soft living, cool, but light living with the softness is what I'm doing, because that affords me to live a lighter life. And that's the goal. And that's how you maintain your peace. And that's how you maintain all the things that God has you to do. One thing I'm going to do in this thing called life is be a great steward over what God gave me. And Jesus said, I'll leave my peace to you, not the peace that the world left. Okay, great. Because the peace that the world left, you can go buy it. You can go visit it. You can go and vacate there. I'm not interested. I'm giving you something that surpasses understanding. The peace that surpasses understanding. The one that's in Philippians. Yeah, I want that. And so how do you do that? Light living. That's too heavy for me. This conversation is doing something to my mood. It's bringing me down. I'm not interested. Watching the news 24/7, ingesting all that, I don't have the interest. Being on social media and comparing and doing the things, or seeing people not living their best, or seeing people cry, or you can go from seeing a baby laughing to a baby dying in like 5 minutes, depending on how you scroll and what the algorithms want to do that day. I'm not interested. I will curate a world of light, and I'm serious about it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Comment and tell me what light living means to you, and what things that you're actually going to do to implement that, because light living means something different for somebody else. Light living for one could be, listen, I'm not answering emails up until said point. I'm not bringing my work computer home. You know what? As much as I love you, y'all can't come over this weekend. I do want to celebrate you, but I can't do a whole week. It's your birthday. You can have a nice day. It means something different to other people, but the idea is to identify that and stand on that, because this is your life. And if people are just trampling over your flowers, you're never going to be satisfied with the landscape of your soul. Period. Do you understand? Okay, listen, we're in the YouTube world, okay, great? So you have to like this video, subscribe to this channel, and share, comment, do the things, because we are here now, yes? Light living. Throw your L's up, because who? Heavy? No, I'm heavy on the light. Okay, great? Yeah. Pressure. But I do this every week. Yeah, we go ahead and put a video on every Thursday, okay, great? So I'm going to go ahead and let me go. We talk later? Later.